So Sunday, I ended up going to the Mic Drop Comedy Club in Claymore Mesa Boulevard, and it was like a late afternoon show. It was like 3:30, and it is the first time ever for Cheryl Sonstein to produce a show called Major Malfunction. And I got word of this show from her and wanted to come out and support. I want to see how it goes, and this was actually like a big lineup. Um, let's see, I think we got a total of 10 people that went up. So Cheryl Sunstein, I actually got to sit with her parents inside the gold room, and then I actually wanted to get the cheesecake again to get another ticket, um, and a beanie, but they took the um, cheesecake off because they ran out of cheesecake. I guess maybe I made it popular. Um, so I ended up getting the what's the tea? It's kind of a somewhat strong drink for myself, and I got the drink that throughout the 90-minute, 75, no, almost 2 hour show. So, and Mike McCalla was the host of Cheryl's show, and um, he did a great job hosting. He had some little jokes in between. He had his own jokes, and uh, he got a good bit of laughter from the crowd in the gold room. Um, there was one, I think he talked about having the doctors look at his thing that he had on his body, and since there were two, a doctor and a nurse in the lineup, it was just a nice play on the fact that after the show, hey, could you guys look at this? So, yeah, that's all in good fun. Mike McCalla, I would say, as a host and comic, 8.4 out of 10. Did pretty well. I would say he did pretty well with the crowd. Next, we have Oya Komova. She has a particular IG handle, and I guess it's part of that famous lyric. Something Komova, como se va. So I guess her Instagram handle had to be changed to something like Como va Oya. So when you have a creative name and you want to put it out there only to find out someone actually took it, kind of deflated, but at least find another way to be creative. So I think she said that she does improv, and I think she mentioned that I guess she's a nurse. So, um, and she said that she did comedy for a while and improv, and then took a long break, and then anytime when someone asked her to do a show, she's willing to do it. Very much obliged, and got to hear some of her stuff. Um, it wasn't too bad. I would say that she got close to the same amount of laughter for her jokes in her set, kind of like Mike, so I'm going to give her an 8.4. Next person that went up, first time seeing her, like I saw Oya, Selena Register. She just talked about how her kid has a way of putting her on hold or pause with text, and it's weird because um, you didn't realize that they could do that, even though it just simply just not saying anything, not texting anything. So she was kind of fun to listen to. She does remind me a lot of either Helen Hunt or Jodie Foster. So, um, uh, so, uh, I would say she did pretty well. Did well with the crowd. Um, uh, she did talk about the life of having kids, and overall, yeah, she did pretty well with the crowd. I would say that she was more of an 8.5 out of 10. Um, Next person that went up, I see this lady a lot. I know she's good friends with Cheryl. Her name is Diana Puig, and she talked about her hairstyle, that she already got the lesbian hairstyle, but she's not a lesbian. So if she ever does turn, she already has the haircut. When she went up, did pretty well with the crowd. Got about the same, just about the same ovation, laughter, like Selena did. So I would say she was an 8.5 out of 10. Next person to go up, first time seeing this lady, Janelle Conde. Um, she talked about she has a bad habit. She still talks to her ex fiance. Um, uh, I don't know if she mentioned she was a teacher. She might have been. Um, but yeah, she talked about dating. Um, she talked about um, her figure before the pandemic and after. Um, she did mention something about the doctor or therapist about weight gain, weight loss. So, um, uh, so, but she was really cool up there. Um, she did pretty well, but there were some times I guess it was kind of slow to get going with some of the jokes early on, and then it kind of picked up. So I would say, let's say she's an 8.4 out of 10 for a comedy Sunday. Next person to go up, Taylor Spencer. Seen her quite a few times now. She did talk about her being catcalled. And then she talked about, based on what the guy said to her, that she would totally, um, that she should have like fucked him or something, and she said, you know what, I did fucked him. So that was probably one of her best jokes that she did. Um, let's see. I would say she was an 8.5 out of 10. Um, um, Even though most of the jokes, I think they were mostly the same ones I've heard, so I don't think I heard anything new, but it worked well with this crowd, so yeah, 8.5. Next person that went up was Alejandra Zapion. Um, I've seen her before. I saw her at the Good Bar. Um, I think I saw her do her thing or I might have slightly heard her jokes the first time. Um, I think it was the Mujeres Brewery. I think that was like in uh, somewhere in East San Diego. Um, so yeah, um, she did talk about dating. She talked about her son. Um, uh, some of her stuff was pretty funny, got a lot of laughs, but then some stuff got a couple of laughs, but didn't hit too much of the crowd for some stuff. But overall, she did okay. I would say she's an 8.4 out of 10. Next was Sapna Iyer. I've seen her quite a few times now. I think she had maybe one new joke, but everything else was very familiar to me. But all the stuff that she said about um, the doctor, how patients don't kept asking for her age, and then always kept mentioning Larry. Larry worried less about my age and more about your heart. Um, and then something about a janitor, and then she said that she took an edible, and then she says that her big mistake was letting the lady um, who gave her a piece of chocolate do like the math. So I guess gave her a big piece, and Sapna, I guess, was really out of the zone. Um, Maybe she's about to faint. She sees herself in the mirror and then says, "Wait, am I a doctor? Wait, I think the janitor just walked in." So that's actually pretty funny. Hit pretty well with this crowd, and actually she was the best one of all of them. Actually, she was an 8.9 out of 10. Um, Next person to go up was Sarah Hirschberger. Um, she did pretty well. She talked about she couldn't get a lot of sleep because of her neighbors, because her neighbors were having sex or something. So she even texted about what positions they were doing, because she said one couple was very exceptional at it, and then there's the other one where I guess it sounds like a cat um, going through some hard times, like coughing up a hairball, and that's pretty much one of her best ones, and it hit pretty well. Um, she did have a new joke, I think, or it was fairly new, where she talks about being an advisor to engineers, because as an advisor, for engineers that have high hopes, only for her to tell them that their hopes are down here and not up there. So that was fun stuff, and she talked about dating. Um, but overall, she did pretty well. This is probably the best crowd I've heard her do her set, so she was an 8.7 out of 10. And then we have the last person up. It's the lady of the hour, Cheryl Sonstein, and she did a few jokes. She did pretty well. And she said that her grandma wrote one of the jokes, and her grandma was near the front. I sat with her parents. So overall, Cheryl did like less than 5 minutes, and she did pretty well with the crowd for 5 minutes or less. And thank everybody for everybody coming out to her first show. So I would say she was an 8.6 out of 10, and that was the show. Kudos to Cheryl for doing a great job. Hopefully I can do my own show and get some great comics on there too. And sky's the limit, I guess. I got to talk to talk to almost everybody. Got to meet some new comics, and then you got to talk to some of the familiar faces of San Diego comedy. And then got some pictures, got a group photo of everybody. So overall, great show. I would actually recommend anyone to go check out Cheryl's Major Malfunction show, along with, the Rui Montilla and Comedy Highs with Gavi, all great shows. After this one, I ended up going to the Laugh Factory again. It's a great venue. I've had only one bad incident, but ever since then, can do what you can do. Just sit there, enjoy the show. No video, no photography. That kind of sucks because I like to do photography. It's weird that how some comics kind of suggested that I do photography for a lot of these comedy shows and get paid for it. So maybe another side gig. But yeah, I went to the Life Factory because Walter Ford had a show. It's the last Sunday of every month, and so I decided to check it out. I was placed on the guest list, and Walter started off the show. He has some of the usual jokes, how hoping San Diego drivers can drive better. Um, and then coming out to California, um, and I guess there's like a profile pictures when you do where I guess Walter had to pose with his arms out or something. I guess that's his way of doing the profile picture to promote, I guess, his own profile or his time in California and showcase what California is all about, or San Diego. He did talk about Gary, Indiana, where teeth are optional, I guess. He did some more jokes too in between sets. Great as a host. I would say he did pretty well with the crowd. Very receptive of him. 8.5 out of 10 for Walter Ford. He also brought up Mike Diamond. First time seeing the guy. Guy was pretty funny. He talked about how he knew the moment that he had to lose weight. It was when he was getting very intimate with a lady, and because he was a lot bigger, he noticed that when the lady was on top, he noticed that his chest, his nipples were going in circles. So he had like that kind of embarrassing moment, and then that's when he knew when to lose weight. So he said he lost like 40 pounds or something. So great, does a great job. Kudos to Mike Diamond. And I guess there was some weird moment where there's this tall, pale white guy who sat like 5 seats to my left, and he yelled out something during Mike's set, and that kind of that brought Mike's attention, and he addressed the guy of what the guy said, and apparently the guy couldn't repeat what he said because he might be a little bit tipsy, and yeah, overall that was fun with a little crowd work or unintentional crowd work. 8.8 out of 10 for his comedy. I believe the next person to come out was Blah Young. Funny guy. I think I met him before. So he and I are pretty cool. He did talk about, you know, Costco, because he tends to be very cheap sometimes, and he asked like, what's the cheapest thing you can do at Costco, and someone said hot dog, but then like, what's the other thing, and it says samples, free samples, and then he acts like but Bilal Young acted like, they never tasted this stuff before, and then as a way for him to mimic how he is during a sample line, he ate the chips from the lady in the front row, and he had like 3 of them, and I was laughing because he kept eating her chips as part of his bit. So it was pretty fun stuff. I like Bilal Young. I would say he was a 9 out of 10. Leave the next person to go up. After him was a new guy I haven't seen before, I don't think, Brandon Brody. He does kind of remind me of a little bit of Bruno Mars in a way. So, I think he mentioned he was like Puerto Rican or something. So I guess something about Puerto Rican and black and something about Mexican. So, um, he has some good stuff to talk about. Um, I don't know if it was him or Bilal Young, but mentioned something about cheap dates. But I mean, like, what do you expect? I took you out to a cheap place, so uh, don't be surprised. uh, so overall, Brandon had talked about dating, family. Um, I don't know if he talked about fashion. Might have. And then, so overall, I could tell that he did pretty well with the crowd. Um, he did some crowd work, but throughout his set, I could tell the crowd was laughing almost every minute of his set, so he did pretty well. So 9.1 for Brandon Brody. Next person to go up, Keisha E. First time seeing her. I guess she's an actress. Has a master's in engineering, uh, computer engineering. So very impressive. She talked about what kind of guys she would date, successful guys, but she just can't seem to find love long term. And then that same pale, tall white guy yelled out something to her, and I think he was trying to tell her that she was beautiful, but it took him like 4 tries because I guess she was so beautiful that he can't actually muster the words together. So overall, she did pretty well. Crowd liked her a lot. Um, she did talk about how she would like to be introduced in regards to Walter. So I guess BET was a nice touch, even though she said that she never did BET, but that I guess Walter kind of ad-libbed some stuff. So overall, she was good, 8.9 out of 10. And then we have our headliner, Kevin Tate. First time seeing the guy. Guy was super funny. He talked about how he would um, check his ex's phone, social media, and then one time, I guess she got something special, and then Kevin was wanting to do an investigation as to who this person was, but then like he kept scrolling down and realized that the person who gave his ex-girlfriend some nice stuff had like a really nice house, and then like finds himself just on this guy's profile for like a long time. So that was funny. Another time, I guess he said something about how he got challenged by another guy and he ended up losing the fight. Um, talked about that. Talked about dating. Um, and a lot of other stuff. Um, so overall, Kevin Tate did pretty well, and yeah, um, I would say Kevin Tate 9.3. He was the best one of everybody. He did a lot of crowd work. Um, the crowd work was pretty well, and a lot of people, most of the crowd of the room, they were laughing throughout his whole set, so he did pretty well. Um, so yeah, 9.3 out of 10 for Kevin Tate. Thanks, Walter, for a great show. Can't wait to see the next one or two. Uh, so we'll see how that goes. I recommend Walter's show. Laugh Factory is not too bad of a place. Waitresses were pretty good. Just sucks that you can't take pictures in there during the show, but you can take pictures at the end of the show. I guess that's something. So overall, great. Overall, great, great. Um, and see, the next thing I want to talk about, UFC 298. I don't know if I talked about it before. Great fight between Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Lemos. It looked like Mackenzie Dern was going to get finished during the fight, but was able to get some good takedowns off of Lemos. The Lemos ended up winning by 29-28 on all the unanimous decision. Um, then we got the one where Kopylov got submitted by Anthony Hernandez or Antonio Hernandez. That was a good one. Good finish. You have to apply the submission hold twice. Because the first time Kopylov got out, but the second time Hernandez got him. Then we also have Marab beating Henry Cejudo. Cejudo did get the upper hand for the first couple of minutes, but ever since that time, Marab adjusted and he was able to finish strong. Did pretty well. Unanimous decision. And I don't know if Henry Cejudo is going to retire. He might still keep working at it. But I think Marab is now the number one contender for the Bantamweight Championship, currently held by Sean O'Malley. He's going to be defending his championship in like 10 days or so against Chito Vera. Although I think Chito Vera might actually beat Sean O'Malley. So I think Marab is going to beat whoever wins that fight. And Marab will be your new bantamweight champion probably before the year is over. So there was a fight between Ian Gary and Gary Neal. That one kind of dragged out quite a bit. Yeah. Ian Gary was able to kind of get some volume up and was able to fend off Gary Neal for most of the fight. Barely beat him. But that kind of exposed Ian Gary holes in his game. So even though Ian Gary won by decision, but whoever fights Ian Gary in the top 8, they're going to have a blueprint on how to beat Ian Gary. So Ian Gary has some stuff to work on. Next we have Robert Whitaker and Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa did get a spin kick flush on Robert Whitaker, but Robert Whitaker was able to survive the round, but he had a lot more output than Paulo Costa in every round. And I had no problem giving all 3 rounds to Robert Whitaker, but you can also make a case that Paulo Costa probably did win only just round 1. So probably one judge gave it 29-28 for Robert Whitaker, but overall, a unanimous decision. Robert Whitaker defeated Paulo Costa, and I guess Robert Whitaker, I don't know. I would say it's probably a good idea for him to face Chimaev, or maybe face John Strickland, or rematch with Dricus Duplicity. So, great job by Robert Whitaker. Then you get your main event. Main event, Ilya Topuria versus the champion, the featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski. And I would say the fight ended in the second round. Great action for 1.5 rounds, but I was the only person who called it. I was the only person to say that Ilya Topuria was going to knock out Alexander Volkanovski. So I'm pretty glad. Topuria, great job of knocking out 5-hit combo and beating Alexander Volkanovski. So Ilya Topuria is your new champion. Yay! well, that's it for me, guys. Talk to you guys later.